Hello everybody, I'm Jack Fortner, Chairman of the San Juan County Commission. Thanks for joining us today. I'm joined today by the President and CEO of San Juan Regional Medical Center, and that is Jeff Bourgeois. Jeff, I'd like to thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And I'm also joined by the Mayor of the City of Farmington, Nate Duquette. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Today, I want you to know that I'm praying for peace for all of Farmington and San Juan County and our family. There are so many folks working to keep us safe and healthy, and we really want to thank them, from our first responders to law enforcement, our nurses. And let's not forget about the people who are mourning a loved one right now. I also want to remind people that during this time, a little kindness goes a long way with everyone. It's vital that we all band together for our community, especially considering the circumstances. This is not the time to relax any of our COVID-safe practices. That means hand washing, wearing masks, maintaining distance. It isn't just to protect others, it's protection for ourselves, for you, your family, and especially those who are most vulnerable. In fact, it's more important now than ever to follow the guidelines and help to slow down the spread of the virus. If you've seen the numbers the last couple of days, they're just outrageous for our county, McKinley County. For our part, for your part, you're doing to protect our community by social distancing, wearing a mask, and we'd like everyone to wear a mask, whether you're going somewhere, riding with other people. Stay home as much as possible. It's appreciated, and together we will prevail in this fight. We're going to start off with the situation at San Juan Regional Medical Center, and I'm going to ask Jeff Bourgeois if you will take this point. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jack. And welcome, everyone. I'd like to start today with just a few brief reminders. First and foremost, if you feel you may have COVID symptoms or are concerned that you might have been exposed to the virus, several pieces of advice. First and foremost, call your primary care physician for advice. If you don't have one, please remember that San Juan Regional Medical Center has a COVID-19 screening hotline at 505-675-4722. The State Department of Health also has a screening hotline that you can also access at 800-600-3453. Additionally, if you feel you are sick enough for COVID-related reasons and want to come to the ED, our emergency department, please come. But also, please call in advance. Call 609-2901. That way we can be aware you're on your way, and we can take steps to protect you and our caregivers upon your arrival. And finally, if you feel you have an urgent or emergent medical need that needs attention, do not hesitate to seek care. Our emergency department is open and ready to serve the needs of this community. We have separated our ED workflow so that we have a respiratory and non-respiratory illness sides, and we are taking precautions on either side of the ED to appropriately mask and protect not only patients but also our caregivers. So by all means, don't hesitate to seek care if you need it. I want to now give you some updates about what's going on statewide in our region and then bring it down to the hospital-specific level. On a statewide basis, today we know there are 3,411 positive cases in our state, and that's as a result of conducting just under 68,000 tests. So it's about a 5% positive rate at the state level. If you bring that home to San Juan County, we've conducted 4,317 tests and now have 621 cases confirmed. So that's a positive test result rate of 14.4%, so quite a bit higher than the state rate. If you look at the modeling that's going on throughout the state, I want to call your attention to the center column of numbers. This is the one that the state is using as the most reliable, as it's most closely matching our experience here. Modeling, as we know, is not a perfect science, and so the degree to which you can get close to these numbers is is important. So right now, if you look at that center column, the top two numbers, and as I mentioned, we have 3,411 cases to date, and that's right in between the projected cases that we would have confirmed between April 26th and May 3rd. If you bring it down again to a regional level, you'll see that we continue to have pretty high rates of growth in our region. This slide shows 5 counties in the northwest area of the state, and Cibola and Rio Arriba are the lower two bars on this graph. The upper 3 lines that show the steeper slope there are McKinley, Sandoval, and San Juan, and you can see that there's still a pretty high growth rate in the terms of the number of new cases. Next, I want to call your attention to the hospitalization rate per 100,000 population. And the state modelers pull several counties together because if you do a population of less, if you try to model a population of less than 250,000, the modeling gets less reliable. So this northwest region includes San Juan, McKinley, Cibola, and I believe Sandoval as well. But you can see at 62.7 hospitalizations per 100,000 for the northwest region of the state is anywhere from 4 to 16 times higher than other regions in the state. And at the statewide level, it's 14.3 hospitalizations per 100,000 population. This is important for us to understand as there is continued high growth rates of hospitalizations forecasted for the Northwest region. That will continue to put pressure on the healthcare system, the inpatient admissions, and particularly the ICU admissions. We have a great coordinated plan throughout the state that is helping us level load ICU admissions across the state, but we need to understand and realize that's our reality right now in the northwest corner of the state. The next slide I think is really important, and there's a little bit of good news here. We've made this slide to look at the percent of positive cases. So as we increase the number of tests that are completed, we can reasonably expect the number of positive cases to go up. And in fact, that happened earlier this week when one day earlier this week you saw a big spike in the number of new San Juan cases. That was shocking to some, but many of us expected it due to the large testing event that the state put on in conjunction with the county at McGee Park on Sunday and Monday. So let's look at it in terms of a percentage of the new tests or test overall that are positive. And so left to right, you see the counties. The second bar from the left is San Juan. We're at 14.4%. That's of all the total tests to date. As I mentioned, the little bit of good news in that is that that number last week was 15.4%. So as we increase our testing, we can expect to see the rate of positive tests go down. Now moving ahead, here's where we are today. We have a total inpatient census of 113. Of those, 30 are COVID positive patients, and we have 1 additional patient who's pending a test result. We have 8 intubated patients total, and 5 of those 30 COVID-19 positive patients are intubated. So last week I mentioned that this week would be very informative as to where we are on our curve, and we've actually not seen it level off as we had hoped. So that the total patients we've had in-house between COVID and those patients pending results has gone down, but more importantly, the total number of COVID positive patients have gone up, and the last 2 days have been our highest days at 32 and 30 respectively of COVID positive patients in-house. And the modeling that the state is doing supports that. So if you look at our trend data, and you look at the lines at the bottom, that green line is the number of COVID positive patients in-house on a day-to-day basis, and you can see where we actually hit our high point yesterday at 32. So that's where we are today. And we are watching the modeling closely, and want to again say thank you to everyone in the community who has supported us, and a big shout out to the caregivers on the front line of meeting this COVID-19 response. They are the heart and soul of what makes healthcare work, and they are to be commended for their outstanding work. So thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jeff. Very informative. The numbers that you talk about increasing here are just incredible. But I'd like you now to hear from Mayor Duquette from the city of Farmington. Nate, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on today. It would be good, since we normally do a Friday release from the city of Farmington with me, that we kind of join forces, so I appreciate you both agreeing to have me on. Really important that people pay attention to Mr. Bourgeois' comments regarding the status of the hospital. Obviously, we've been watching these numbers every day, and it is important that we are vigilant right now and continuing to follow through with physical distancing standards and proper hygiene and respecting those who are around us and keeping that 6-foot distancing. We can't stop doing that. And the governor yesterday, of course, reiterated those things, and you're going to see some things come out from the city of Farmington here. We have to finalize, but we're going to present out a business hygiene and social distancing protocols that our businesses can implement within their individual facilities, and make sure that the public understands exactly what is expected of them. I know there's a lot of information that's been put out there, and I don't know how much more it needs to be clarified, but we need everybody wearing masks. If you're in a public space, I think it's really critical that we respect what the healthcare professionals are saying about the importance of wearing a mask. Not just, and you're wearing the mask so that you're protecting somebody else and you're protecting somebody else's parents or grandparents. I'm wearing a mask to protect you and your family. And when we do these things correctly, we will see the benefit. Yesterday, of course, the governor released an update to her current public health order. It's important for people to know that there have been no communication to the city of Farmington or San Juan County prior to her press conference that San Juan County was going to be excluded in this most recent update and moving forward in some small steps to open up curbside business for retailers, golf courses, and state parks. That information was not sent to us until last night when everybody else saw it on their press release. So as a local elected official, we are obviously seeking clarification. There's been a lot of communication with the governor's office, I can assure you, between last night and this morning, and we continue to push forward. But Mr. Bourgeois presents some numbers that we need to be concerned with, and I would imagine that the governor doesn't have to send me an email or a phone call to tell me why she has positioned us as not moving forward in this current pre-phase approach. But know that we advocate still for the safe reopening of our economy here locally, that we advocate for small businesses and for golf courses and state parks. I mean, I think if you asked me if the state parks or golf courses in San Juan County were less safe than anywhere else in the state, I would say no, they're just as safe. And I think those were small risks that frankly should have been applied statewide, but we will continue to work with the governor's office in the best approach that we can, the most respectful manner that we can, to ensure that we're protecting the safety of our community and the safety of our businesses. And when they open up, we want them to be prepared and have actions that they can implement, things they can do to ensure that their employees' health is listed as a priority, as well as their customers. But this situation remains very fluid. I mean, every day we're learning new things and we're being presented with new information, and we just have to remain vigilant and responsible for the sake of ourselves and for those around us. And so I just ask my community to join me in these positive health protocols as we continue to move forward. We are obviously aware, as maybe this may be news to some folks, that the city of Gallup has declared a state of emergency. They have done that in order to bring in state resources to assist them as McKinley County's numbers continue to go way up. Now we're obviously paying very close attention to how that's playing out, and the county commission, daily communication about maybe even hourly communication, Chairman Fortner, with things that are happening here in our region. So there's no doubt this is the most challenging situation that most of us have ever experienced. I want to thank our first responders and everybody working on the front lines, provide these essential goods and services to our community. My prayers, I echo Chairman Fortner's thoughts and prayers for individuals who've lost loved ones during this time and the difficulty of not being able to be with them. I've lost a number of family members throughout probably the last decade of my life, and I understand that pain. So my thoughts and prayers are with you for strength and comfort. But we have things that we need to do here locally, and that's got to be our mentality. Is we have to be people of action and people with a cause, and that cause is to make sure that we're protecting each other and minimizing the spread of the disease as much as possible to ensure that we come out of this on top. So as I say before, we live in a community that cares. I'm proud to be here, proud to be representing you, and know that we're working hard for you every day.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jeff. You've provided some helpful information. And I want to echo what they're saying. A number of things is, if you're going out in any of the big box stores, half the people are wearing masks and half of them aren't. And it's going to be our recommendation from the hospital, from the city, from the county, wear a mask. You can go to Lowe's, Smith's, Walmart, and again, half the people are wearing masks, half aren't, not all the employees are. We think that going forward, that should be something that everyone practices. The small businesses, they're ready to open. We're ready for them to open, but we'll also have to practice safe distancing, a mask. We need to let the governor know we're prepared to follow safe medical guidelines, and we're actually, I think there's a difference between being controlled medically and guided medically. And what we want to do is to be guided medically so that we can open up our state parks, open up our golf courses, and at the same time, we've got to get the numbers down. So again, Mr. Mayor, Jeff, thank you for joining us. And we will continue to address our city and our county and see how soon we can get this place opened. I'm Jack Fortner, Chairman of the San Juan County Commission. Stay well, stay safe, stay masked, San Juan County. Thank you.